For far too many of us, the levels of success that we are at right now might have come on our backs. It might have been a pound of our flesh, an hour of our time. It might have been through brute force and passion and your talent. And what we want to do is we want to go from being a laborer to being
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business, so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
Hey, and we're super stoked, as always, to be just getting across the airways to all of our favorite on-purpose chiropractors out there. Hey, just want to recognize you for the great work that you do. Man, I hope that you put your feet on the ground every morning and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for making me a chiropractor. Man, give me the opportunity just to make such an impact in the world. So we just want to recognize you today. Some of you out there needed to hear that. It's worth it, man. It is worth it. You're making a big impact. Hey, today we're going to help you make a bigger impact, and we're going to have a conversation around how to take that job and turn it into a business and to make sure that you get all the juice for the squeeze. Today we're going to talk about how to take that business that you have right now that you've probably enjoyed a certain level of success that's just awesome, and congratulations. But for far too many of us, the levels of success that we are at right now might have come on our backs. It might have been a pound of our flesh, an hour of our time. It might have been through brute force and passion and your talent. And what we want to do is we want to go from being a laborer to being a leader. And that implies leading a group of people that we can leverage, right? So today is all about how to take that brute force and turn it into leverage and making sure that we are creating that remarkable business, which implies that we have leveraged lead generation or marketing. We have leveraged sales or conversion. We have leveraged delivery to create greater retention, and we have leveraged team building. Dr. Pete, I'm super excited about today. It's going to be a rich conversation. Man, let's take all of this brute force and let's just accelerate everybody's success and teach them how to lean into leverage.
So I love this topic, Dr. Stephen. So I'm really eager and energized around it. So I know this is going to be an incredible episode. So again, talking about leverage, and I wanted to just paint a picture. So I'm a very visual person. Dr. Stephen, I know you're always pen and pencils and paper in hand, and it's graphics and all this. But the picture that I have in my mind is on one side of, let's say there's a canyon. On one side, the land on one side is the laborer, right? And when you get into business, when you launch into business, I mean, it's a labor, and it's a labor of love, hopefully, but it's labor, and we become you have to actually get really good at it. Actually, you have to develop that fitness level as a laborer to get to the level of success so that you can really employ leverage, whether it's the hiring of the first employee or whatever it might be. I remember for me, it was actually buying a TV that we could put in the office, and then eventually buying a desk for myself, because I used to sit on a exercise ball on a Hewlett Packard box was my desk, because I bought a printer because we needed that more than I needed a desk. And, so leverage, begins small at the beginning when you're launching, and leverage. So leaders, as you go from the laborer on one side, and the other side of the canyon is becoming the leader, that the bridge that we actually cross is the bridge of leverage. So leverage is actually how we successfully transform from the laborer into the leader. And it's leverage that becomes the bridge that we cross. And so as you're listening to this and you find yourself more feeling like I'm functioning more as a laborer right now. I have that labor identity. I have the labor behaviors, and I'm a laborer. And that's where I'm at. And it's just important to recognize that. And it's first is just an awareness. It's really important. Recognize that to cross over successfully from the laborer identity and behavior to the leader, it requires leverage, that you have to deploy a level of leverage to be able to successfully do that. And what we are going to discuss today is how you have to deploy leverage in multiple domains, actually in all the domains, to successfully fully enter into to get to the other side. Otherwise, you find yourself precariously on the bridge in between labor and leader. And this is just how my mind works, but your leveraging gets you actually to successfully cross to the other side, where you now are on the side of the land where it's now leader land. And that's got a whole big forest in there. There's a whole lot to go through on that side. But to get to the other side and to successfully remain on that other side, you have to build the bridge of leverage. And that bridge has to be in working order. And so today we're going to be unpacking what that looks like practically. And again, so wherever you find yourself in the spectrum of laborer to leader identity or behavior, again, this is just a conversation, but it's about how do you very practically deploy leverage in your practice as a CEO? What does that look like? And when you're exposed, you'll be exposed because you'll see it in the data. Dr. Stephen, I know we're going to get into this right now. So anyway, I hope that picture maybe helps somebody out there, but that's how I envision it. And, and that helps me.
As you're saying, this is like this is coming off of a series of masterminds this past week with our remarkable CEO coaching clients. We have a dashboard that we have for each of the masterminds. So, we run data-driven businesses, right? So, of course, we run data-driven masterminds. So we have to have the data to know exactly what's working, what's not. Where do we need to? Your metrics, your data tell you where you should be investing. Right. So where should you be investing your time, energy, focus, and money? So as the CEO, your job is to marshal the resources of your business, which usually means the resources of your team as much as it is your money. Right. So it's like it tells you where do you need to focus in your marketing, where to focus in your team building and team development, where to focus in your training of your people, et cetera. Right. So it tells you what to do like that. Like that's what metrics are for, tell you what to do. And as we were going over the dashboards this week, there were a few people that I heard as we're coming into summer now. There were a few people whose numbers were off a bit, right? And then I heard a couple of conversations where people was like, "Oh man, my net momentum was down, and well, that's because my conversions were down, and because my new patients were down." And it's just like we could see, we're chasing it down to find out what's the root cause, and it became very clear to me as I was hearing some of these stories that they were telling, oh, we went on vacation for a week and a half, or we shut the place down, or it was these holiday, there was somebody had sprained a wrist, so they were out of the adjustatorium. And so, everybody had reasons, and there were stories, and they were justifying why their numbers were off. And I was like, yo, time out, time out. I'm like, you've been exposed here, right? Like we've just exposed your business and said, you're lacking depth here in these roles, whether it was in attraction or in conversion or it was in retention or it was in team building. What we recognize is that they were missing out on the leverage points of each of these domains, so that if they did take a vacation, the place would shut down, right? So it was like, next thing you know, the numbers at the very least were dropping, if it wasn't just shutting off the spigot, if you will, right? So at the end of the day, Dr. Pete, to have a remarkable business, you do have to have leveraged marketing, right? So you have to have leveraged lead generation. To have a remarkable business, you have to have leveraged sales, right? So leverage conversion. You have a remarkable business, you have to have leveraged delivery, right? The delivery of value. In other words, leveraged caregiving, right? So there's multiple people that are actually delivering value so you can capture value, right? So that's the retention piece of this. And then of course you have to have leveraged team building, right? So it can't be all up to you to be the person that is building, developing, training this team, right? So holding the team accountable, right? So Dr. B, this is an incredibly rich conversation, of course, but ultimately the takeaway on this is to recognize is like, There is huge opportunities, and each one of these domains is a lever, right? So where you can make that bigger impact and make a bigger income, and it doesn't have to be by an hour of your time and a pound of your flesh. How are you investing your time, energy, focus, and money? Specifically, how are you using your money to buy somebody else's time, energy, focus, and talent to free up your time, energy, focus, and talent so you can go make more money?
So, of course, my mind, of course, goes right to our accountability grid. And I think about the definition. We ask 2 questions as you assess the 15 primary functions of your business in the 5 domains. And the 2 questions are, number 1, who owns this? And the second question is it optimized? And you're speaking, Dr. Stephen, at that moment, as I was processing you in that moment, having that dialogue and mastermind on that point of exposure, was if we were to audit our businesses right now through the lens of the 15 primary functions of your business, asking ourselves the question, is it optimized? And in quotes, are you successfully using leverage? That would be actually how you would know whether it's a 10-1, 10 being optimized, 1 being failing, it's not performing, underperforming. And so where are you at in that spectrum? Dr. Stephen, I think that I always go back to that, because for me, this is about the functionality of your business. Okay. We talk about how there's the organization, the structure, and then there's the function. And this is a question of functionality or dysfunction. And that point where we are not exercising, or we have not deployed or employed, however you want to look at it, leverage, we are now exposed. And so it's not optimized. It's not optimized. So if I'm auditing my business and I look through, and I do take a good hard look, an honest look at not only my team, but also the data, as you have discussed, and you look at the course over the past, let's call it quarter or year, you could go back more than that if you wanted, and you begin to look ahead on your vision story and your goals, your NHAGs and your BHAGs, and what we're working to accomplish. You need to look at it through the lens of, is it optimized? Meaning, is it fully leveraged? And if not, where am I exposed? So this is even though the data was a lagger, that's a lagging metric, I want to look ahead to the leaders and say, okay, I'm a leading metrics. And I want to say, this is the business I'm looking to create based on my base case, and best case goals. In order for me to hit my base, in order for us to hit our best, how do we need to use leverage? And that's where I believe this is also exposes that, because if we're going to stay on that, if that was to continue to happen, Dr. Stephen, not only are we not going to hit our base case, we may end up in our worst case, which is actually a flat line in the business, and potentially even we begin to constrict. And that is the exact opposite of what a healthy business is, because in a healthy state is growth.
Yeah, worst case scenario could be if you're thin, meaning you don't have depth on your team and you're not leveraged, then you lose a key player and you lose your momentum, and next thing you know, you're not growing, you're actually contracting, right, as a business. Yeah. I think the accountability grid is a great framework to audit your business. And I would say a better question than am I exposed is how exposed am I, right? So it's a better view. It's like, oh yeah, no, there is definitely a degree of exposure, so let's look at it from a practical perspective. Like, so if we talk about leveraged lead generation, so leveraged marketing, okay, let's get really practical about this. It's like, we know that there's internal, external, and digital marketing, right? Those are the tributaries of inflows of new patient leads into your business, right? From your marketing. The purpose of marketing, marketing's job is to generate qualified leads into your business. So there's 3 streams flowing into the river of new patients coming into the business, right? So you've got internal, which is referral generation. You got external, which is all the work you do outside of that business that's offline, not leveraging your existing patient base for referrals and not web-based. And then you have digital, which is everything where you're leveraging the web to generate new patient leads, right? So those are the three categories of new patient leads. Well, are you leveraged there, or are you doing everything? You got to ask the questions like, who owns it? Who owns internal lead generation in the business? Somebody has got to be, running the processes that generates. You got organic referrals, you got process-driven referrals, you got campaign-driven referrals. Who owns each one of those, right? So that would be leverage. Do you have somebody else who's helping you generate external marketing activities? Who's doing networking on your behalf? Who's setting you up for outside talks or dinner talks or corporate wellness or signage or billboards? Like, are you leveraging your money to create external marketing? Do you have paraprofessional networks going on, referral networks going on, et cetera? How about digital? Do you have a website expert, an SEO expert, a Google Ads expert who runs your social media, right? So it's like you're leveraging these other contracted experts. That's leverage. So that if something's sideways or somebody's sideways, your new patient conversion doesn't go absolutely sideways because it's fully leveraged, right? So, and then we get to conversion sales, right? Do you have leveraged sales, or is it all up to Dr. Pete? Dr. Pete closes all the cases. Dr. Pete does all the reports of findings, recommendations for care. So yeah, it's up to him, right? So what happens when Dr. Pete goes on vacation? What if you take a week off, 2 weeks off? What happens if you take 90 days off, Doc? What happens to conversions in your business, right? So if you're not leveraged, conversion shuts off. Okay, so there goes business growth. So that implies you've got multiple people on your team that can process new patients, day 1, day 2, day 3, they can convert. And that doesn't have to be a DCPS, right? That could be, you have this awesome office manager or financial closer who's helping you close, right? So do you have leveraged sales, or are you exposed? Do you have leveraged delivery? Which this implies obviously that there's multiple practitioners, that you're able to deliver healthcare, multiple practitioners, multiple DCs. Maybe you've got massage therapists, a PT, you've got a nurse practitioner in there, what have you. It's just like you're leveraged across multiple profit centers in the business with multiple different providers, right? That's having leverage, right? And maybe it's team building. So you ask yourself, is like, well, leverage team building, is it all up to you to be doing interviews and finding people and interviewing them and hiring them and onboarding them and training them? Oh my gosh, kill me now, right? So can you imagine it's like spending all of your time combing through candidates for you? Like, are you leveraged there? Like, are you leveraging professional resources? Like, we use Chiro Matchmakers, it's like total transparency. I'm an owner at Chiro Matchmakers, right? So we created that because we recognize that, frankly, most chiropractors are like me. We suck at hiring, right? We love everyone. We think we can fix anyone, right? So we want to make sure that we are leveraging experts in this space for team building. And then how about using your office manager or your COO, or maybe a head associate doctor or a clinic director on your team to help with the training and developing of your people, right? Or is it all up to you? I'm not saying you can't be involved in it. I'm saying it can't just all be on you. You can leverage the remarkable practice. We coach and train associate doctors. Like, we have over 100 associate doctors that we have dedicated associate doctor masterminds where we're coaching and training associate doctors on behalf of our doctors. Now that's leverage. They're using their money to buy our time, energy, and talent. We're experts at this, to free up their time, energy, and talent so that they can go make more money, right? So Dr. Pete, it's all about leverage if you want to take your impact, and 1 + 1 = 11 when you start stacking these things up on top of each other.
I think it's important, Dr. Stephen, it's about the quality of questions you ask really determines the quality of business or life that you'll have. And you made a statement, and I think it's a really important question. It's actually a question that I want everyone to actually take some time and actually answer this question, because I did this years ago and it changed my life. And the question that you asked, Dr. Stephen, in that whole conversation that you just led us through was, what happens to your business if you take 90 days off? And I want you to meditate and consider that question. If you were to take away from this meeting today, from this podcast, is take some time and ask yourself the question, what would happen to your business if you take 90 days off? And I don't want you to get out of that conversation. I don't want you to stop thinking about it until you've diligently allowed that to sink in, and you've allowed that to ruffle your feathers, you've allowed that to stretch your brain, raise your blood pressure, challenge your whatever, your beliefs. And I'm not going to tell you the answer. Nobody can tell you the answer. The question is, what happens to your business if you take 90 days off? And then from that, and I encourage you to write while you're receiving the thoughts and the inspirations and the challenges and the visions and the visuals and the questions, document that. And then those then become the questions that we need to go out and pursue answers for. Because whatever's going to happen, good, bad, or indifferent, that's going to happen is a direct reflection of the amount of leverage that you have right now in your business. And so I'm going to challenge everyone, because like Dr. Steve, we always like to say, we want to make this somewhat practical. I'm going to ask you to do that as an assignment. It's a thought exercise, but I believe it can become very, very practical and actually turn into a project planner eventually, and into a strategic plan for where we're going in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12, 18, 24 months. Because if you were to create a business that supported you taking 90 days off, if you chose to do that, that would be your choice. But if you were in the position where that was possible, what would have to happen to get you there? And that becomes where we need to focus. That's the areas of leverage that we need to focus on.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy. All right, CEOs. So I am here in the studio today with my friend and colleague, Joe Esposito. I know a dear friend to Dr. Steven and to many of our listeners. And so, Joe, thanks for taking the time to meet with me here today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Pete. Excited for the discussion.
Yeah, we were just chatting right before we pressed record here, what Joe was going to talk about. And Doc, I know you've got a lot of things going on, and you've always been an innovator. You've always been somebody on the cutting edge. You've always been someone who's been, the way I would describe it is the status quo, just accepting things the way they are just isn't acceptable to you. You're always looking for ways to make things better, to take things to the next level and do things with tremendous excellence. Everyone that I've ever talked to on your team, any of your clients that you work with, I feel that same thing from them. So we really appreciate having you on the CEO podcast to talk business, talk shop. So we're going to talk about two things, really actually four things today. We're going to talk about the 4 seasons, and we're going to talk specifically about AlignLife and what are you guys doing specifically to help doctors in each one of the seasons. We talk about launch, build, scale, and exit. And you know, if you're familiar with the TRP world, you're familiar with the 4 seasons. And I know if you're a listener to this podcast, you are familiar. So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm just going to let you run with it. I'll poke around. I may ask you some questions as you go, but I know you have a few things that you're going to share. So I'm going to just give you the floor and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. So yeah, I'm excited. Serving this profession is looking for the gaps in where there's holes or there's potential lack of maybe support for the doctor, that we can step in and serve to save time, money, energy, resource, any way that we can help the doctor gain quicker success with less risk, basically. So when we break it down, we look at launch and we say, there's literally like 6,000 questions you have to answer. If you break that down, everything from the color of your equipment to where you're going to put the poster, to what kind of loan am I going to get, to how long do I sign for a lease, to on and on and on questions. And we try to answer about 90% of those so they don't even have to come to the doctor, because a lot of it's just minutia of attention that the doctor be focused on his craft, his love, his vision of where he's going, hiring the team and getting ready. So basically we have an SOP that's been refined for almost 20 years of launch. So from how do you sign the lease to the build out, like I said, signage and on and on and on, we have our team step in with expertise and take a majority of that work off the table for someone that wants to launch a new business. Our goal is to save dollars and save time and launch. So we just had one clinic open here in Puerto Rico, and they're open for like the first 3 weeks, and they hit almost 20 grand their first month. And like, is this okay? Are we doing okay? I'm like, there's not many businesses that drive like 20 grand in the first 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. So you're okay. It's funny when they don't.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, already just what you said, we talk about, why so many businesses fail, what is it of entrepreneur type businesses that launch within the first year and then within 5 years and 10 years. And we're talking about like 3 to 5%. And what you guys have done is you've taken the 6,000 questions and you have solved, it sounds to me like 90% of that you've taken away. So the doctor actually can stay focused on what they need to be focusing on to launch a successful business. And you help them focus on the thing you and your team are focusing on behind the scenes, all the other things to get them set up for success. Wow, that's incredible, because I've talked to, other doctors that have launched, and that's a big question they have is, what do I need to do? And it sounds to me like you guys have a model set up for that. So you're basically saying, if I was coming out of, let's say, an associateship and I'm going to go into launch my own, or coming out of college, chiropractic college, I want to launch in my business, we can come straight to AlignLife and we can actually get a practice open with you guys, is what you're saying.
Yes, we have an assistant finance. A lot of these students coming out of school, I'm calling them kids. I guess I did break 50 a couple of years ago, so now they're kids, right?
Yeah.
Helping them get financing and navigate through that. We have the exact SBA layout, every question. It's all pre-framed out, ready for the banker. It just takes so many steps out of the opening.
I love that. All right, so that's season 1. Then there's season 2, which is build. Talk to me about what you're doing, help doctors in build, and then we'll go to scale. Okay,
so build is exactly what it is we're building. So we're looking at the 3 domains of marketing: internal, external, digital. So we have about 13 different internal campaigns that our team will train you, teach you, give you all the assets, the resources, the tools, everything you need to launch the internal campaign. We have a year-long schedule. It matches your TV, it matches the newsletter, everything has continuity. So when they come in your office, we stream all the information on the TV. We send the newsletter directly to the patient. We have the flyers in the office. There's continuity on every messaging. And that's hard to do. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of content, a lot of graphics, a lot of work being done, and a lot of strategy that our team does for hours and hours to plan and making sure you get a return on that. Same thing for digital. We pre-vetted all the vendors. The vendors are on a month-to-month agreement with us. If they don't hit a cost per acquisition, we pick up 10 offices and move it to a different vendor. They don't like that. So they stay on their toes and they produce for us. And we're always pulling and pushing vendors in and out of our network, but you don't have to test vendors. Everything's pre-tested and everything's vetted before you begin. It goes to a dashboard. We have custom make dashboard. You can look at your phone and see what's my cost per acquisition on Facebook compared to the industry standard and compared to AlignLife as a whole. So you know where you are and where you are compared to the whole industry of Chiro, because we have that number. We have the AlignLife number, and then we have your number. So not only giving you the data where we're pulling all the different social campaigns into one dashboard that we built for you, but you know if you're good compared to different markers. So it gives comfort to the doctor that we're watching their data on a daily basis with experts that know digital marketing. So that's kind of a good piece. The third is external. We have an external director that helps you get the networking going, review all the different gyms and businesses in the area, and kind of help you preset events. So that's the third leg. So with those 3, while someone is building your website, someone's doing your social campaigns, you can start really focusing on delivering the best care to the patient.
It's huge. Wow. So, we talk about build, you talked about marketing, talk a little bit about, the systems and the team that happens also. Cause when you're building it's that 10,000 hours and really what we're borrowing from you is that, right? Talk about the systems and the team building in that stage of build.
Yeah. So we have a 400-page operations manual that's updated every 90 days based on the questions other doctors give us. and doctors who are scaling at different levels, we pull data and we're refining SOP literally every 90 days. We have the internal framework is the beautiful TRP system, communication cycles. And they go through what we call a foundations course. How do you cluster book? How do you manage your team? And then we have a scripting training where it's literally one-on-one, where we're talking and working your script, granular, getting into the grit of mastering communication. So that's all the operational piece. We actually train teams. We have office manager training, CA training, doctor training, health coach training for the lifestyle work that we do. So everything's segmented by the job detail.
Beautiful. I love it. I love that. That not every 90 days, looking at your 400-page manual. That's a commitment to excellence, like I talked about at the beginning of the show. So if you were wondering what I was talking about, that was something that I was alluding to. So that's incredible. So all right, talk to the doctors in scale. So a lot of docs, who obviously we listen to on this podcast, we talk about the going from build to scale, from scale to exit. So talk about what's going on in the world of scale now with AlignLife.
So scale is either more doctors or more clinics. So we can be twice the asset to you in your second clinic, because we don't want you taking your eyes off the first. The second one's an investment. It's not your baby. It's an investment in the profession that you love, but it's an investment. So we teach doctors not to take their eye off of their home base, and they're going to train there and they're going to watch you, but then they're going to go to their house and use us. And they're going to leverage our systems and tools and resources. So we're going to be reporting to you as the main doc and the owner, but we're going to take a huge lift on your second, third, or fourth office. And we're also going to train your associate doctor, your doctor that needs the same work that you needed to launch. We're going to take that whole lift that you went through. So it's the big leverage comes for those that want to be an enterprise doc with multiple clinics, because you can only do so much while you're still running your main clinic. We've all seen too many times a really amazing doctor who's delivering great care, building a prosperous business, say, well, I'll just do this again. And they open the second and the revenue in the first goes down 20%, and they're kind of wonky there where they're spread too thin, too much time and they're losing revenue. So we don't want that to happen. So we'll be watching, training, answering all the questions on the staff on the new clinic through our support network. So that's how we can really bring value to that scale doctor.
Wow, it's huge. And then I know that you had we were talking a little bit about exit and how this is significant right now in our profession, just knowing kind of where, the number of doctors right now that would be exiting in the next, 5 to 10 years. There's just a lot going on right now in our profession. You have all the people coming into the profession, people transitioning through it from building to scaling. Exit's a big piece. And it's something that maybe a lot of us don't always think a lot about, like, oh, I'm never going to exit, or maybe you're thinking about it all the time, like, when am I going to exit? But at the end of the day, whether you were prepared or not, there's support for you. So talk about what you are up to now, helping doctors who are nearing or considering, this next stage in their career, the exit.
That's an exciting step, because too many doctors have spent their life running this business with this expectation of this pot of gold of exit for your hard work and your labor. And unfortunately, the chiropractic market over the years has not given a multiple that you can get in other industries until now. Over the last 5 years, the multiple of value, meaning how many times more than your profit. So if you bring in 100,000, can you bring in 2 times, which is 200,000, or can you sell for 5 times? It's 500,000. That's what's called the multiple. The multiple is moving. And as TRP knows, when you have doctors working in the clinic, it creates freedom from the owner, the value goes up. What we have the availability to do is in a continuity play, meaning all the same brand, all the same software, all the same marketing systems, that as you teamed up with AlignLife, we can grab, which we are doing now, 20 offices, and we can get your multiple up considerably higher, from literally 1.5 to 2 times to 10 times or more. So we can go from this 1 year income exit to 5 or 10 year income exit, which changes the outcome for the doctor.
Wow. So it's power in numbers, power in the group, power in being plugged in. So I think a lot of doctors I know not maybe as many who are listening to this podcast can feel very isolated and alone as a chiropractor already, right? You can feel like you're out on an island, you're an entrepreneur, you're a chiropractor in town. You don't have to feel alone at all. And that's one of the reasons why we do this podcast. We want you to feel part of the family. If you're a listener, again, thank you for tuning in and listening. And this is why we connect with partners such as Joe Esposito and the AlignLife, because this is the type of people that you want to have in your corner. These are the types of people that you want to be connected with throughout your career, whether you're in launch, build, scale, or exit, whatever season you're in. So, Joe, I really appreciate some of the insights you've given to us, but I know we've only taken just a little scratch on the surface. So if doctors want to learn more and speak to you or someone from your team to learn more about AlignLife, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to the AlignLifeOpportunity.com or even AlignLife.com. And on the top side, you can see the opportunities, and they can just go there. So AlignLife.com would probably be the easiest, and they can click on either franchise, business opportunities on the top of the site, and they can reach out to me. But I don't mind, honestly, giving let me give a direct number. I'll give the office number. 309-807-4439 is our direct line. And we actually do clinicoscopy type layouts where we'll review your marketing. We'll dive in and see where your risks are. If there's an opportunity for us to do some work together, that'd be awesome. If it gives you some insight, that's fine. That's great too. So we're here to help support TRP's mission because it's aligned with ours. So I just appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Joe, thank you for being with me here today. You guys heard it. It's AlignLifeOpportunity.com or AlignLife.com, and also direct line 309-807-4439. Is that correct there, Joe?
Perfect.
Perfect. You can give a call to the direct line and take advantage of the clinicoscopy opportunity. That's incredible that they'll do that with you and really help you do an audit of your business and see where you're at right now. It's actually a really healthy thing to do. So, Doc Joe, thanks for who you are and what you're doing. And man, I'm looking forward to an incredible rest of 2023 and beyond. And I know big things are happening and big things ahead. So appreciate you and everything you do. And for all of you who are listening, thanks for being a listener to the Remarkable CEO podcast and joining me and one of our remarkable success partners, Dr. Joe Esposito and AlignLife here for this segment. Remember to tune in next week for the next episode of the Remarkable CEO podcast. Until then, take care and God bless.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.